Hey everyone, welcome to Founders 365 with me, Stephen Haggerty. Today I'm joined by Oli Russell Cowan, the world's longest name. Joking. How you doing, Oli?
Yeah, well, thanks, Steve. Good to be
Good
here.
man. Oli, you are the founder of Rad Season. I mean, even the name sounds cool. Tell me all about it. What's it about? I mean, you're representing the brand with your hat. It's got to be said. It's a good looking brand.
Well, I thought I'd get merched up before getting on the car. So, got to be done. Rad Season came about just over 4 years ago, and I was trekking around South America at the time with my wife. We were on our honeymoon, and we were basically looking for events and festivals, and you couldn't really find kind of anything in particular apart from maybe you get like a one-liner in Lonely Planet saying, oh, there's going to be something on in Mexico City, or there's going to be a competition on the beach in Costa Rica, but that was about it. And then I was doing a bit of research and I was thinking, okay, well, there's no one sort of website which has all these events, like adventure events, sports events, in one place. There's just multiple blogs for different sports. And I thought, okay, well, there's an opportunity here and I'm going to try and find them all and then put them all together on one site.
Amazing. What were you doing before this? What were you doing before the honeymoon?
Before that, I was, so my background, I used to work for an action sports publishers in London years ago, selling advertising on magazines when that was kind of a thing, and then everything went online, and I think I got my first start there. I was selling DVDs. I was selling action sports DVDs, nice. Which was just if you think about that now, it's crazy. So that's how long ago it was. And
it wasn't VHSs though, so it wasn't proper old school.
Yeah, exactly. And then when I started Rad Season, I was living over in Australia. So
amazing.
Yeah,
you've always been involved in sports, around the industry, like always had your finger on the pulse, as it were.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a keen surfer. That's sort of, I guess that's what kind of got me into it initially, and then almost like every kind of major decision of like where I've kind of wanted to be or live is sort of, at the end of the day, it's kind of come back to that. So that's sort of one of the reasons why we moved to Australia, and then recently moved to Portugal. Wanted to be back in Europe, and some cracking surf here. So it's sort of one of the reasons for setting up over here.
So it sounds like a hard life, man. It sounds like a hard life. Yeah. Someone's got to do it. So when you had the idea of Rad Season, how long was it before you actually had like a product service that you could put out there to the public that people could start using?
Yeah, so we didn't want to throw tons and tons of money at it when we started off. So I was speaking to a lot like friends and some people that have started companies and tech businesses, and you hear these horror stories about people like spending $100 grand on trying to build an app, and then they've got to put more money in and just go down the whole investment route. So we thought, okay, well, we'll test it out with like a cheap MVP, and we just got like a really simple blog made, and we ran some articles with a few writers and journalists that I knew, specifically on sort of adventure and action sports events and kind of like the lifestyle behind it, just to see if there was any interest. We started gaining a bit of traffic on that, and we thought, okay, well, I think now we'll try and expand out and try and build it into an event platform. We got contacted by Priceline Group, who's now Booking.com.
Oh, wow.
And they said, it'd be good to sort of integrate their offering into the site. So then the idea sort of came about where we wanted to create this one-stop shop where people could book their tickets, book their accommodation, and book their activities around the event. So if you're going to go somewhere, say for like snowboarding music festival, or you want to do a marathon somewhere, what are the other things you can do around it, and how do you organize like the logistics of how you get there, and where you're going to stay. And that sort of kind of went from there. But that took about, I think we sort of had it for about 6 months before we had the blog for about 6 months before we then expanded into the platform.
Yeah. How did it feel when you started seeing that traction come, considering this just started as an idea on your honeymoon and now 6 months on, things are happening?
Yeah, it was great. It was like, and still is. It's a lot of work. So starting off trying to, like balance multiple, like putting multiple hats on and trying to think, okay, well, how do we do this? How do we grow out the team? How do we work with different sort of freelancers and marketing, and just sort of trying to figure out the structure was very time consuming, and every day is still like a learning process of what we're doing.
And was this your first, I say it in quotations, like proper business venture? It
is, yeah. So directly before that, I was in corporate events and conference sales.
Yeah.
And then before that, so I always kind of have been in sort of like business development and sales roles.
But always as like that employee role rather than...
Yes. Yeah. So this was the first time I sort of thought, okay, I'll try and go out on my own. And
how was that?
I thought, I'll just have all this time to go surfing, and I live by the beach in Sydney, and my own boss, I can do whatever I want, and I think I sort of, the first couple of months, almost stopped surfing. Now I sort of have to like tell myself, okay, look, go and have a break. The emails can wait, and I think this whole concept of either sort of working for yourself, being an entrepreneur, got trendy really quickly. Well, especially like where I was in Australia, and the whole digital nomad thing kind of blew up. And I guess there's this sort of this misunderstanding of it's not just sitting on a beach with a laptop and reading a few seminars and blogs, and then
if you're on a beach with your laptop, you can't see your screen anyway because of the screen glare. It's like if I'm on a beach, I don't want my laptop. I want to just be on the beach relaxing.
Exactly. Yeah.
But it's funny how these trends just come up, blow up, and then it's still a trend. It's still, people still crave that. But it's interesting that every time you speak to someone that's done it, it's never worked out in the way that the dream was sold to them in that sense.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's sort of, and I don't know. So what we did, and with that, we sort of just spent apart from last year when we first started, 3 years of just solidly working. And I was just always behind a computer and not actually going to any of the events or festivals. It's like, what am I doing? Like, what I've actually like built this. And so we thought, okay, like last year, we decided to, when we moved back, we had some time of moving from Australia back to Europe. So we thought, okay, we'll build out like a festival tour and tie that in with work. And we decided to do about 25 festivals in the summer around Europe. And again, it was a great idea at the time. And like, this is gonna be amazing. Like now looking back, you sort of get this like, if you see like a photo pop up or video or whatever, then it's sort of like this whole nostalgia thing, and it's great. But at the time, it was sort of like, it was crazy, but it was really fun. And then we got to sort of understand the purpose a bit more about what we were doing and where we wanted to take it. So it was definitely important.
Sure. In terms of the business, is it like almost an autopilot now, or are you still personally selecting what things need to be on the website, what events, what areas you're focusing on? How do you determine what the user experience is going to be like?
Yeah, sure. So last year, I think we had close to 900 events and festivals on the site.
Incredible.
And it was just too much. It was too much to cover, and it was almost getting a bit diluted. So then we thought, okay, well, like what in our minds and our contributor eyes, like within the categories that we cover, like what are the best, right? What are the raddest events in the world? So we kind of, this year we focused on some marketing and promoting the top 300. We still have more than that in our database and in our platform. But we were like, okay, around the world, if we just sort of add thousands and thousands of events, it's just too much, and people have too much choice. So we're sort of looking at it like if someone wants to go to a mountain biking event, or if they want to go to a particular music festival for a certain genre. or they want to we're doing a lot of like quirky, crazy events, stuff like cheese rolling in Gloucestershire is like one of our big ones, and
that's a dangerous sport. That people
it's
die.
not. It's nuts. I went last year. I couldn't believe it. I was like, oh yeah, you know,
the way they throw themselves down the hill.
Yeah, it's like, crazy. I think there was like 4 races, and every time I saw the stretcher and the ambulance go up and like pick someone up and with twisted ankle or, you know, shoulder gone.
And also, what are you going to do with that much cheese? You know.
Yeah.
It's horrible, but I would love to do it. I haven't been up to watch it, but I'd love to.
Yeah, I was thinking about so that's in May. I'm thinking like maybe we'll go again and like this time take part. But that was like right at the beginning of the tour, and I was like, man, if I got 24 festivals to get through, like one every weekend. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we do some pretty quirky events, and I'm trying to head over to Las Fallas in Valencia next week. And just to sort of see if that's still going on with everything that's happening with the coronavirus. But
yeah, of course.
Yeah. So yeah, it's definitely interesting times.
Yeah, for sure. How do people find you then? How are you getting your customers? How is it paid? Is it organic? Is it just word of mouth?
It's mostly organic. So probably about 90% is coming through SEO. So yeah, if people are either searching for a particular event or they're looking at events within the category. So yeah, just like mainly through that, and then we still have the online magazine where we kind of sort of generate listicles and sort of lifestyle articles about that, and then we've got a newsletter. And,
brilliant. And is there anyone else doing this? Or you guys like the lone wolf or innovative?
I think so. Like across sort of these categories, no one's really like there's different platforms, and there's some great ones out there sort of specifically for like big music festivals.
Yeah.
And then there's a few sort of niche running sites which would say just do marathons and things like that. But I don't think there's anyone sort of crazy enough to kind of pull them all in and try and have them all together.
It does sound like an incredible amount of work to like stay on top of everything, to manage it. How have you done that? Have you built? You mentioned teams earlier. Have you built out a fairly solid team now? Or
yes, so we've got a team of developers that we work with over in Australia. We've got I think we've probably got about 100 contributors worldwide who then sort of help out with some production, putting the articles together, photography, that kind of thing. And then, there's a few other people who are sort of helping behind the scenes as well.
Fantastic. And for you, how would you determine your role in the business? Because it still sounds like you're going to all the festivals, you're having a lot of fun, still moving the business forward and managing this team. How do you define yourself within the business?
So I'd say, I guess I'd be almost sort of like the director, but I'm still kind of doing various other things as well.
Director research.
Yeah,
exactly. Fun job.
Yeah, chief fun officer. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
So still trying to kind of get out there, and like that was why we built it. It was almost like a bit of a selfish thing that I kind of wanted to go away with my family. And friends as well, and try and discover new places and sort of have the event as like the draw card of why we were intentionally trying to go somewhere. And then, and sort of the rest kind of came from that.
Amazing. And 4 years in, has there been any like huge surprises which you just had no idea were going to crop up, but have ended up being a real like asset to the business?
I don't know. Surprises within the business. I mean, like personally, we had a year into it. We had we had our first child. So wow. So we had sort of doing that, and then being like a new dad and trying to sort of juggle everything in the air and try and.
Did that make you question anything? Because I always wonder this when you start a new business, it's super exciting, and a year in, you become a dad. Did that make you reevaluate what you wanted to do with the business and where you wanted that to go?
Yeah, it's sort of. We definitely changed on like some of the topics or some of the things we were doing within the business. So it was almost like, when we starting it out in our early 30s, now we're in our mid 30s, and it's sort of like, the evolution of the business. And now it's sort of like, if I go away on events, I went with my wife and my son last year, and he loved it. And I was like, is he going to like this? He's a bit too young. Is this irresponsible? What am I doing? But he absolutely loved it. I mean, like a couple of weeks ago, we were in Cologne for Carnival, and there's different, you can go during the day to these events and you can have a great time with your family. And then, at nighttime, it's a different thing. You can kind of, obviously the party's still continuing, and you don't bring your kids out. But there's definitely, it definitely sort of made me reevaluate like what was important and where we wanted to take the business. And most importantly, how could I incorporate the family and sort of have a good time with them doing it as well.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Which kind of brings me on to my next question as well. Where's Rad going? Where do you want to, you're 4 years in. What's next for you guys?
So for us, I mean, we really want to focus on the experience side of things. We recently had an exciting partnership with an adventure travel insurance partner. So which launched this week, and with that, it's sort of we're trying to basically bring everything together to make it like for our readers and our audience, to make it as simple as possible for someone if they're going to book a trip, so they don't have to search around and spend hours kind of wasting time. Sort of like we're sort of trying to put together these experiences that in our mind and our like contributors' mind are like, these are the raddest things you can do. And there's different levels. If you don't want to go to the tomato festival and have tomatoes thrown at you, you can go to Thailand, to Songkran, which is like this crazy like water pistol fight, basically, where it's around Thai New Year and everyone's sort of soaking each other with water pistols. And it's not as bad as getting tomatoes thrown in your face or oranges in Italy or something like that. So there's different levels, and we're trying to sort of say, okay, well, like these are the just fun things to do. Either you can go on your own, you can go with a group of friends, or you can go with your family.
Amazing. And you mentioned earlier about, you haven't gone down that investment route. Is that something that you think you might go down, or have you now got that business to something where actually you don't really need that?
We thought about it like early on, and we sort of started off as like almost trying to define ourselves of like, what are we? Are we a media company? Are we an events company? Are we a travel agency? And it's sort of
all of the
we're just crossing over so many things, and it was just getting a bit confusing. So we're thinking, okay, well, we are like the experiences and the events. That is our product. So, but then in the same time, we are a media company because we're showcasing these. So we're still really evaluating whether we are. At the moment, we don't need to. So there's a lot of times where I guess if people sort of, depending on what kind of business you're starting, but if there's something where you need a lot of money up front, then maybe the investment route does work. The advice that I got was don't like try and start it small and then sort of take it up gradually. But I mean there's two sort of changes of thought. Like for us, it sort of became, I kind of want it as a lifestyle business. I sort of saw that like I don't want 50,000 events on there, because then it defeats the object for me. That like are these the best? Are these the best things that you can do?
Exactly.
So we sort of thought, I don't know. At the moment, we're okay not to go down that path.
Yeah, incredible. One of the trickiest questions I always ask is, if you could do the last 4 years again, what if anything would you do differently?
So I think at the beginning I got carried away with what we were gonna cover. So I was over in Sydney, and I was kind of like putting the plan together and then looking at doing some research on all these events. So okay, we'll do surfing events in Australia.
Yeah.
And then I'd be like, oh, you know what? There's like this pretty cool Red Bull event downhill mountain biking in America, and then there's this like there's this snowboarding event in Whistler in Canada. Like why don't we do those as well, and, you know, throw those on. And then all of a sudden, you know, close to 1,000 events going, like, how are we going to, like, with resources that we have, how are we going to cover all these, and how are we going to sort of do them justice?
Yeah.
So going back, I probably would have focused on one country and one category, and like really try and like get as in-depth as possible within that niche instead of doing multiple.
Do you think it was just that excitement because of you're hugely passionate about it? It was like your first venture, let's say. Do you think it was just the excitement that didn't allow you to almost step back and see the benefit of doing that?
Definitely. I think I sort of almost looked at it almost like two personally. So I kind of, like, when I was growing up, I used to, like, when I was like in my teens, I used to skateboard a lot, and then I got into surfing, and I was like very sort of like, if there was a particular sport or, you know, activity, whatever it may be, I was just interested in that. And then as I got older, I thought, okay, well, you know, I'm crap at surfing. I can't skateboard. You know, I can hurt myself. There's got to be some other fun things to do. So then it was just like, you know, whether it's like going to concerts, going to different festivals, checking out, you know, these adventure events, and there's so many things out there. I think I got carried away, but looking at, you know, not looking at the audience, it's not necessarily someone that's going to run an ultra marathon is interested in a skateboarding event or a music festival. So the audience and the readers can, because we're covering so many different things, it sort of gets a bit, it can be a bit diverted. And there was definitely a way where we could have sort of just done one category or one sport and then moved on to the next one. But yeah, for me, it's just showing like what I think is the funnest things that you can do, and that was kind of my sort of passion and my purpose behind it. Really.
Did you ever like question yourself and be like, wait a minute, is this actually fun, or am I just the only one that thinks this is fun?
Yeah, I definitely thought that, and that's why that's why I wanted to do the tour last year. I was like, okay, well, we'll get all this stuff, and a lot of the times I thought, okay, you know, like the music festivals, I was really looking forward to them. Yeah. And some of them were great, and then others kind of got there and we thought, you know, like they're just a carbon copy of each other, and it's just business. There's no kind of, I don't know, it just felt a bit forced and a bit put on. Yeah. And then I went to, like, I don't know, some of these weird food fights in Spain or like these cultural events, and they've been going for like 400, 500 years. Crazy. Through wars that, like, you know, year on year, and like for me that's the most fun thing. So I like look back at the photos and I'm like, you know, am I like smiling in that one? Am I like growling and, like, you know, when I'm not having a good time? And so I definitely think that it's good to sort of it was good to experience it, or to you know, really get feedback from people that we trust within the industry and outside, and our readers as well.
For sure. It must be really nice for you to be able to bring your family to these events and have them grow with the business as well. Do you think you've got that whole balance thing right in that sense? Because this business sounds like such a enjoyable one and not like physical one in the sense where you can go and experience what you're actually doing. You know, there's a lot of business out there which they put on things online and they never really experience themselves, but you guys are doing that. So do you think you've got that balance of like working to grow the business and just enjoying life as well? Because from here, it sounds like you do.
Yeah, I think we try to do it a bit more now, like especially after last year. Before we weren't, so it was just sort of like I would go off almost because I felt that I had to. If I had to go to an event, and like didn't bring the family or didn't want to for some reason, and it was like, oh no, like he's too young, he can't go, to bring our son over, and I just wasn't really having a good time. So now we're sort of looking at this year going, okay, well, it's like you said, it's to try and get that balance. Yeah, it's a tricky thing, and it's sort of something that
it's always going to evolve and change. And
so we're sort of thinking, okay, well, if we personally go, if I go, I'm trying to sort of do not one every weekend, but like maybe one a month, where we go, okay, this would be great if it's some kind of like family style festival that we can go to together. And then sort of between projects and campaigns, I'll do other things separately as well.
That's incredible memories for your son to grow up around there. That's just
I hope he's going to remember it. I mean, it's weird. We came back from one in January, where in Spain, in the north of Spain, where they were throwing. This guy dresses up as a monster.
What is it about Spain and throwing stuff?
I don't know. They love it.
Tomatoes, anything.
Yeah. So they had this guy's in like he's in this like mesh suit, and he's got armor underneath him, and he's basically dressed up as a monster called Haramples, and it's in this little village in Extremadura called Pinol, and basically people, like the whole village just turns on him, and tractors dump tons and tons of turnips, and they're just lobbing turnips at this guy dressed up in a monster suit, and you think it's going to go on for like 5 minutes. It goes on for like 6 hours, and then there's like different guys getting in the suit, and it's crazy. So my son was like, he was like, like thinks it's normal to pick up a turnip and like throw the turnip, and you see him in the supermarket getting all excited.
When you're in the supermarket, you like put the turnip down.
Put it down. This isn't normal. So it's pretty funny that the kind of the stuff he's like coming back with, and
that's such a. I think I'm so fortunate now that we're able to document so much of our life, I guess, so that when he is older, you can just show him this, like, this is your life episode of everything that you've put him through in terms of throwing turnips at people to getting a tomato in the eye at age 4, that sort of thing.
Yeah, he's probably going to be like, what are you doing, you weirdo? Like, he'll probably go the opposite way to rebel.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to do any of that. Like,
he'll probably become like a really safe accountant and just never want to do a skydive or anything like that. Whereas you're probably just itching for it all. It's a really like an unusual but amazing family dynamic by the sounds of it, and I love the sound of it. So well done to you in terms of actually like following your dream, in the sense of, I love how it just started off as an idea on your honeymoon, and now it's evolved into this actual proper business, which is evolving again and growing with your family. It's
thanks.
Yeah. Don't worry. For me, one of my last questions to you is, which is something I ask everyone, is if you could give 3 like words of wisdom or 3 tips to someone that perhaps were in a similar situation to you and wants to build a business like yours, what would they be?
I guess the first one would be follow your gut. That would definitely be something I kind of know. If it doesn't feel right, then 9 times out of 10 or 10 times out of 10, it normally won't work out. The next, I guess, would be maybe definitely sort of think about if someone's going to start something from scratch. Just think about kind of how where they want it to go, almost sort of like have a plan, like we were talking before, where I was thinking, kind of almost just rushed it and went in too quickly.
Yeah. Step back and actually look at it.
Exactly. And sort of the third would be speak to people, get advice, don't bottle it in. Everyone's sort of like worried in the startup scene. I used to work in this co-working space when we first started out first year, and everyone's sort of paranoid about their ideas. And,
being stolen. And...
Yeah, it's just like no one cares, or no one's got the time to like, go.
No one's got the energy to like steal your idea, implement it in the way that you want to implement it, and all that kind of stuff. There is a weird, I don't know why there is, but there is a weird sense of, like you said, like pressureness, I guess. I don't know what the right word is, but of that, people stealing the idea when you just don't need to. I've seen people being like, hey, I would love to speak to my idea, but I need you to sign an NDA. I'm like, I'm not going to do jack with your idea, mate. I'm not sure why people think that.
I don't know. It's almost like But then I do know, and I have seen like ideas that get stolen too. So I think it's sort of like depending on who you're talking to. If it's someone specifically doing exactly the same thing as you, and maybe then be a bit cautious, you know.
Exactly. If you were going to speak
just,
to like your competitor, I would not be like, go tell him all your secrets.
Exactly. Or if it's just like, you know, you're speaking to a mate in the pub and they're like, oh, what are you up to? And you just say, oh, you know, can I run this idea past you? Like, do it and don't bottle it all in. And the more you can test your ideas and your thoughts before initially, like, you know, putting money into it, the better. Instead of just getting, you know, like feedback from your parents or, you know, like your wife or your partner or whatever, you know, it's good to just to sort of test it out with as many people as possible.
For sure. Speak to people that don't.
If they'll listen to you, they probably won't want to hear it. So.
You just sat at a bus stop going, hey man, can I just about this idea?
I've got this great idea. Can I just run a few things past you?
Yeah. It's a real fast way to end up in some sort of like mental asylum. I don't know. Listen, Oli, thank you so much for coming on. If anyone wants to get in touch with you, like speak to you more about Rad, discover more about Rad, what's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. So either through our website, which is radseason.com, or Rad Season Facebook or Instagram. That's probably the best way to.
Nice and easy. Oli, thank you so much for coming on, sharing the story about Rad Season. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, and I look forward to seeing how you guys evolve as well over the next couple of years. Cool. Thanks everyone for watching and listening. This has been Stephen Haggerty with Oli from Rad Season.
Thanks, man.